All right, everybody, welcome back here to another episode of the Real Eyez Truth Podcast. I am your host, Frank Michael, with my co-host, Kelddy McDonald. Kelddy, we are back. How are you today?
We're doing good. Really excited to have Dr. Kousouli here with us today.
Yes, everybody. Dr. Kousouli, how are you, sir?
Hello, Frank and Kelddy. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I've been looking forward to this and our conversation today.
Awesome, man. It's always a pleasure. So, Dr. Theo Kousouli, guys, he is the leading mind-body holistic healer who's changing the landscape in his field. He's a board-certified doctor in chiropractic work, master hypnotherapist, keynote speaker, best-selling author, the founder of Be a Master Teachings and the Kousouli Method of Transformational Healing. He's been featured on national television shows, publications, and is a frequent guest expert at summits, podcasts, radio shows, and other events. His personal experience overcoming family health and medical misfortunes as a young man resulted in his professional and spiritual path. Bullied and attempted suicide at the age of 10, semi-paralysis at 21, 2 open heart surgeries at ages 28 and 39, and he needs one every 10 to 12 years just to keep him alive. He's a personal transformational coach, worked with entertainers, business leaders, energy healers, spiritual seekers. This man does it all, people. I've had the honor and pleasure of knowing Dr. Kousouli. We were just saying for probably close to a decade now. I know his story, but that's why I wanted to have him on. I wanted Kelddy to hear it. I wanted you guys to hear it. I just believe and know that at a time like this, where we're at in society, we need people like Dr. Kousouli. We need inspiration. We need clarity. We need focus. We need healing. We need all of that. We need bright lights in this world, and you guys will see he is just that. So Dr. Kousouli, thank you for being here. And I guess, where could we start? Let's go way back. So how did this all start for you? How did your profession choose you when you were a child? Because I believe it probably happened when you were a child. You probably kind of had an idea of where this was all headed.
Very happy to be where I'm at. I never would have known that I would be alive. It's a miracle and an honor to be here alive in this moment, coexisting and co-creating with you, Frank and Kelddy, and just having the ability to speak to you. I would have been dead a long time ago had I not made the choices and decisions that I've made. At 10 years old, I was so depressed from being beat up and just made fun of for being just different. I was a small kid in my class. I was easy to pick on, and I was going to commit suicide at 10 years old in my father's bathroom upstairs with a razor to my wrist. There was a miracle. That's all I can say. It was a miracle. As I was going to slice my wrists, something I learned from the movies and looking at how to do it, a voice echoed through me as if there was a thunder, and it said, "Ohi" in Greek, which is no. And the razor fell to the ground. My hand went like kind of numb and limp. I just couldn't do it. Although I wanted to, I was going to, I was doing it. It was so much pain on the torment every day at 3 o'clock. I would be beat up by kids at school. And I was just depressed, small, unable to take care of myself. My father would work. He wasn't there to support me or be emotionally available. People told me I was ugly, I was small, I was worthless, all these things that basically I had taken in like a sponge, and I believed. And I was like, I might as well just die. So at that moment, it was a divine force, you can call it, an archangel. I didn't know at the time. Later on, I found out more information, but through meditation, prayer, and asking about this beginning in life, I knew at that moment what we know as claircognizance, the ability to know immediately information, psychic phenomenon that happens to kids, usually right before the age of 6 to 10, when they're very lighthearted, loving, and they don't have the difficulties in the programming of life yet. You still have a lot of your psychic abilities as a child. And I still had that ability and other abilities and other things that happened to me. But at that moment, I knew, Frank, I knew that it was the environment that was messed up and toxic, and it wasn't me. Now, at that 10 years old, being an epiphany like that set the stage for the rest of my life. I never forgot that moment, but after that, things didn't get easier, they get harder. A lot more thoughts of that, but I never thought of killing myself at that anymore. I thought, like, how can I change the world? That's what, and to this day, it's interesting how my life has come to this point, the work that I'm doing. After that semi-paralysis and then open heart surgery, it was in pool. The semi-paralysis was in a pool accident. it was a chiropractor that brought me back to life. Immediately after a couple of visits, I was like, I can't believe the power this man has in his hands. I was like, I got to do what you're doing. This is amazing. I decided to go become a chiropractor. I loved everything about it. It gave me a chance to use my hands. But what I was looking for at that time was the power. I couldn't believe that I was able to live and breathe and had no pain with just what he did with his hands, when everybody else was recommending drugs, surgeries, and all these other big expensive modalities. And I was
I want to
anxious.
pause you really quick. The paralysis was at what age, and then the heart issues was at what age when you discovered that?
I grew up with an aortic valve insufficiency. It was a regurgitation. So I knew that I had that from a young age, but they didn't know exactly what the problem was. The blood wasn't getting up into my head, and the valve couldn't keep up with the pumping. So that happens every 12 years, and then I have to go in for another surgery. So the semi-paralysis happened when I was late teens, early 20s. And then the open heart surgery was at 28, my first one. The next one was at 39. And
Yeah, I was
in
there
2006.
I was there for that one.
Yeah, you were there. You
Remember
came
I
in. Yeah,
to
thank
visit
you.
Yeah, that was when?
That was 2017, I think it was.
Was it? Okay.
Oh my God, time's flying.
Yeah, it is.
Time is flying. Which means I want to have another one not that long. I mean, when I start having symptoms again, I have to go in and get another one. It's like a 10, 12-year extension every so often.
And what will you experience? That lightheaded? That's how you'll
same
start
thing.
knowing?
I black out. I start to get really tired. My labor breathing. It's basically the valve. When I was in utero, my mother lost the first child. Now this goes into the work that I'm doing. It's really interesting. My mother lost the first child. She had a lot of anxiety, and she wanted the next kid to be perfect. She was afraid. So I grew up in utero with my mother's anxiety and her wanting me to be perfect, which played out a lot in my youth, and trying to reach this goal of being perfect, but not being able to be perfect, and causing a lot of emotional turmoil. So as that happened through my life, I didn't know until later, when I did a lot of hypnotherapy, went back into memory lane to find out what exactly was going on, and who am I? And that's something I want to bring up, is like, who are we to God? Who are we to each other? Who are we to ourselves? And who are we, and what are we doing?
Whew, that's a lot.
There's a lot, man. There's a lot. And I sometimes pause, and I tell my wife, now I'm married, and I'm happy, and I'm so glad I am, because I didn't think that, at 28, you don't think you're going to get married. You don't think you're going to have a family. You don't think all these things. And you really, I regretted my life at age 28, because I was, partying and enjoying the clubs, and not understanding life. I was angry at people. I thought everybody else was a problem, not me, my choices, and I had a lot of growing up to do. And I'm glad the heart surgery was actually a very big blessing.
Sure. It sounds like you went through like two deep awakenings, one when you were 10, and again, once when you were 28 and you found your purpose, Yeah.
Kelddy, it's very hard when you're a young man in America. My father was a very great role model for hard work, which I really learned from him, and being persistent. He was a restaurant owner. Greeks, restaurants. They own restaurants, and they feed people. So I had no problem being fed as a child, but I wasn't fed emotionally. He was never available because he was working so hard, literally 9 to 9. It was insane. So when I was going through my troubles, I didn't have that male figure there to help me. And I love being a mentor now to young men, and helping them understand that they're not alone. There's a lot of people in the same situation right now. We have to ring the bell, loudly, for men right now. Yes, women too, but men need to be there for society, to be strong, and to also encourage, as leaders, also strong women in the family structure. I'm 100% understanding of that is a necessity, more than ever.
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah. Let me ask you this. I feel like we all have this one moment in our life, but like, especially for you, being so connected to things on the other side, and intuition, and like being able to tap into different kind of energy. When did you realize you had this natural, this ability to like connect, or like, was it, going through your heart surgery. You hear stories of that, like people with anesthesia coming out, they feel like they left their body and had some kind of a spiritual download or an awakening. Was there one pivotal moment where it was like, whoa, like it kind of scared you because you didn't understand it yet, but like now you know what it was, in a sense, if I'm making sense with that question?
Yes, Frank, actually, when I was 10 years old, that was the first like real, this is a real phenomenon. But when you're a kid, you have a lot of make-believe in your mind and you think that things might be fake, might be right. You don't really know. As I was growing up, in my life, I had this thing called a red folder. And the red folder is basically everything that had happened to me psychically that I put in there. I would type it up and I would put it in there. If I spoke to somebody who had some kind of psychic thing to tell me and I didn't believe it, I would type it up, I would put it in there so that I can later look back at it and say, was it real? Did it come to fruition, or was it basically fake? Because I was going through my own kind of case scenario. I was trying to figure out everything from a very young age. As I was going through life, my mother was very, very psychic and intuitive, and my grandmother was also. So there was a lineage of something like that, although they weren't psychic as far as a career. They had a lot of amazing moments that I was like, how in the world did you know that? But also you have mothers are very psychic. Mothers are very intuitive with their children. My mother would have a lot of dreams that would come up as real. And I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. So a lot of things also happened to me. I'll share with you later if you like. Also a little something that happened, little miracles that happened continuously through my life. Around my first heart surgery, I knew without a shadow of a doubt what I was going to do, how I was going to do it. I mean, although I still doubted it. I mean, you really doubt it because you think you're going crazy. You really are working through two different realities, and you think you're going crazy. So a lot of the training I do with my students is to tell them, one, how they're not crazy, and how to understand that what they're getting is a true connection or communication from the other side, and not to be afraid, because most of the time when you're afraid, and that's what happened to me, I was afraid and I shut it off. After 10 years old, I shut it off all the way up to close to third and late 30s. Wow. So after 28, 29, 30, around 30, I started coming back. So from 10 to 30, 20 years, darkness. Darkness. Psychic things still happened, but I was not happy. I was not a happy person. I was going through my dark self. I had to go through that to come back in a better light. So yeah, when did I realize? After my first heart surgery, I really knew for a fact. Although I knew throughout my life also that there was changes that were going to happen psychically.
Wow.
We shut it off as children. We do, a lot of us. Yeah. And the ones that don't become career psychics.
Well, that, and I think too, like I see that with my son being almost 4. It's like the creativity in a child is just off the charts, right? And as parents, I'm learning to like not. If he says he saw something, I'm learning to be like, oh, that you didn't see, like I never want to stagnate that, because I think kids are closer to the other side at that age than we are, because they just came from that side. So their abilities to download, feel, hear, and see things from that side are much greater than mine or any of ours, because they were just there. So yeah, as a parent, you try really hard to be like, oh, no, you didn't see that. Like, what are you talking about? Like, whenever he says things, I try to entertain it as if it's a matter of fact, just to keep, I don't want him to feel like he's crazy, because he's not. He's definitely more in tune than I am, No,
you're both in tune. You're both in tune. Yeah, you're very in tune. The only thing is the child has no programming yet than you do. That's the only difference. It's heavier for the adults. Yeah. For sure. What do you see, Kel? I mean, because Kelddy's daughters, like, you got teenagers, right? Like, how do you?
I do, and I feel like I also come from a lineage of, my uncle was a shaman, my grandparents, we would see things all the time, and, Central America. So it's very old, and my first vision was when I was 3 years old. And then my daughter had her first vision when she was 3 years old, seeing things, and you just nurture that, and you say, it's okay, don't be scared. When you see it, you just pray, and you ask God, to be with you, and that you're strong, to get through it. But, it's just amazing. Yeah, you know, that you're able to see it more when you are younger, like you said. And it's hard because if you have no direction and you feel like you can't really express yourself to somebody, like, oh, I saw something, or I'm feeling this way, or something's going on in here and I don't know what it is. And a lot of people, especially now, you know, when they're in the 3D realm, they're like, no, you're not feeling anything. You didn't see anything. You know, there's just no expression, no freedom of expression for the little kids to kind of say that because they're scared. Like, what, you know, what are they going to think about me? What are they, you know, what are they going to say? So definitely, yeah.
What you touched on there was 110% correct. And you have to, as a parent, if you're awake, you'll be able to be awakened to help your child. But if you're not, imagine how many parents are not awake and they're not helping their children when they are awake, and bringing on just more darkness rather than awareness and light. I mean, think about, like, I know my generation, we have lost so many people, good people, to negative dark forces. And the idea that God is good is a way, because the churches have hurt so many people through pedophilia and these different nasty, very dogmatic practices, that people are going to the dark side. Children specifically, a lot. I mean, we have a lot of Satanism and all that stuff going on more than ever because they are accepting them with open arms. So they're like allowing them to come in and do these rites and these rituals and these very, very dark things, because the light and the dark both exist. Though they don't know that they are actually giving over their own power to a force less than God. So they're actually, this archangel is not God. And this archangel and its other entities and lower frequencies want sacrifice, when God sent his only one begotten son for the only sacrifice needed. So they don't get it. So yes, negative and evil is fast acting. It wants to show off and it wants to give you something quick for that ritual to show you it's real, but it's going to want something, a continual you. It wants to live through your body and cause you harm. Where God says, none of that. Come to me, child, you're mine. 100%, everything is yours. There's no ritual other than prayer and love, and done. So that you have the real church, which has been basically hidden. The real church is God and God's church and God's people, right? And now, how does this all have to do with healing? 110% everything. But what we got going on out there is to get you and me looking at a party left and right and hate my brother, hate my sister, and hate everybody. And at the end, we don't look at each other for the solution. We look at each other as the problem. There's a big problem in our society where we're looking at puppet heads for direction, and the puppet heads are paid actors with agendas. When we need to look at the Hippocrates and the beautiful people back in the day who gave us everything. The Bible itself is the way of learning to live a life that is perfect, that is awesome, that works with your brother and sister, not against them, gives you abundance. If we look at people like Hippocrates, we look at people like Samuel Hahnemann, homeopathic genius, and James Kent, these people knew exactly how to help people with natural remedies. These things are the true medical. Then later on in history, you had all the people doing all this quackery called bloodletting and making people die on the table, and then causing everybody else who was doing all the good work to doubt themselves and call them the quacks. So again, what do we see now in society? We're seeing the same thing. We're seeing the very people who put the problem out, calling other people quacks, and they're giving the poison to people, and then when I bring it to the kids, why is this happening? Going back to the parents, and going back to the generation, and going back to hypnosis. I'm a hypnotherapist as well. I know the power of hypnosis. You take good hypnosis, you can change someone for the better. You program them incorrectly, you can destroy them. In the television, tell a lie is the biggest hypnotist there is. And when that came into the home, it destroyed the mother, father, child, God relationship. And now where are we? Broken families everywhere. Everywhere. I don't, to find someone with a mother and a father that is still together is rare these days.
Very rare. Yep.
And where we were heading, I don't know. I'm very hopeful though, because everything is a cycle. Everything comes back to square one.
Mm-hmm.
However, the square one, we don't want it to be the way certain psychopaths are taking this whole thing. We want it to be more like where God wants it to be. Mm-hmm. And in the end, God wins. We know that. It's been already prophesied. So what's there to worry about? The best thing is to just teach our children correctly, also to teach ourselves correctly, to find out what the truth is, and your connection to God and spirituality. Absolutely. Not even religion. Not even religion. Religion is basically a box that's been written by men, not by God.
It's so refreshing to hear, someone, such as yourself, who's in the medical field, speak on spirituality, because those two are very, they're just exclusive. They don't even overlap or combine. And then also hypnotherapy. And then I also saw that you do aura light healing. And I mean, you just do it all, and that's just a pretty amazing and impressive. And I'm sure that there's others like you out there, but they're so unheard of, because we don't know, because we just think, oh, that's quackery, that's not medicine. And how receptive are patients when they come to you? Are they willing to try new methods, new modalities of treatment?
Well, when they come to me, they've been everywhere else. They find me last. They usually come to me desperate and broke. So they've been siphoned by the medical industry, the pharmaceutical industry, everything. And what's difficult is when they come to me, they have their life force is basically very low. And we call what we call vital force or life force, or pneuma, or in Greek, it's called spirit, or chi, whatever you want to call it. That is very low. It's basically given over to other entities, other energies. If you look at the biggest clairvoyant, the biggest psychic, the biggest healer ever to walk this planet, Jesus Christ. If you look at what he was able to do through just belief, just knowing who he is and where he came from, and that example, and even in the Bible to say, you will do works like me and even greater, to his disciples and to people when you know the Father. Wait, I mean, why aren't people dissected? I dissected this in my book, Be a Master of Psychic Energy. And that's what I really wanted to know as a child, because the church was never telling me any of the truths. It was telling me, come to church, put some money into the little the basket, and you're going to go to heaven.
And if you don't come, you're going to hell.
Or you're going to hell.
Right,
and that's the Roman Catholic Church did that. They were given passes to heaven back in the day. And people don't even know about the schism that happened by the church. And, Christianity was united for 1,054 years after Christ. But people have no idea. They believe that the religion they're born into is the real true religion. Everybody else is lying. Well, that's what the pastors or the priests, the head of the organization, it's telling them to believe, because that's how they succeed. Bring them to our side, have them become converts to our side, and our church will grow, and the money will, it's all about membership. Follow me. It's another church is an Instagram. Right. Follow me. Who's got the most followers? It's basically what it is. When God said all unity is one in Christ. Even Jesus Christ wasn't a Christian. He was a Jew. Right. And all these great figures.
That's the problem I end up having with religion when I think about it. It's like all of the great teachers existed before the religions were formed, and that's where I put the brakes on. I was raised Catholic, and I'm not Catholic. No offense to anybody that is. It's just, I'm not a part of any religion. I'm a follower. Christ is my rock, the Spirit. But for me to call myself tied to a religion, it just doesn't connect with my soul in any way, shape, or form. Really quick.
And many people feel that same way, Frank, because they've questioned it, they've researched it, they've lived it, they've experienced it. And I remember when you allowed Christ to be your rock, I remember the change.
Yeah.
And God bless, man, because your life became better. I mean, both of our lives became better when we did that, didn't it?
And it's crazy because I went through that whole phase, because Catholicism really tainted the word Christ for me. It
for many
really
people
did.
yes.
When I heard the word Christ, I felt it wasn't really Christ. It was the experience of Catholic school, having to go to church. Like, it felt dark to me, like, because
Yes.
it was forced on me. Nothing, like, when I first really dove into spirituality, and when I moved to Los Angeles, everyone kept telling me, you got to go to Agape Spiritual Center, you got to go there. And when I first went there, I cried, like, probably like the first 10 times I went there, because it touched me in such a way, because I was always like fascinated, like, okay, great, I have to honor, praise, and pay homage to Jesus Christ, but what I never got was from Catholicism was, how did Jesus walk through his daily life? And what touched me from the metaphysical, because Jesus Christ was a metaphysician, a poet, a prophet, a healer, a hippie. I mean, he was all that, right? And when I got to like feel the Holy Spirit, which I never felt it through Catholicism, it just made me cry every time, and it made me it helped me to understand, and that's what brought me back full circle to Christ now, is that for me personally, I can't call on any spirit that's as strong as that for me. Like, it's just something to lean on. It's something that you always know is like right here. And it's, to your point, like when you realize that, how your life changes, it's just like it's a supernatural power that I feel like that I've been able to incorporate back into my life, you know. So yeah, so listen, I mean, this is great, and I want to continue that, but I really quick, before we get side railed and go deeper down the rabbit hole, I want to know, like, I want people to know that are listening, if they were to come to you as a patient, what can they expect? How does it unfold? And also, because you're doing hypnotherapy and energy healing, not just laying hands and adjusting people, which I don't even think, if I remember correctly, you don't really even manipulate physically as much as you do more energetically. Maybe you can.
Not as much as I used to. I used to do a lot of chiropractic, and now I do very little chiropractic, and it's a lot of emotional, mental, neurological, and spiritual connection.
Okay. So if you can just touch on that, like how that all unfolds, and then also, I'm assuming because of that, are you seeing patients virtually as well, or do they have to see you in person?
Well, the ones that I see virtually, I work through the website beamaster.com, and that is the mentorship. Do any classes and seminars that are coming are going to be posted there. Everything there that will be connecting also to all the free information that we're going to be doing for YouTube and all the different social media will also be linked through there. If someone wants to be mentored, it would be my honor to work with them if they're looking for mentorship and they're looking for a meaning and purpose in their life that they might have not received yet. That type of, whether it be bettering your health, bettering your outlook on life, bettering your law of attraction, or how to spiritually connect to God, these types of things. If they want to become an actual patient in the practice, we're located now in Tennessee, Nashville, Franklin area. So if they wanted to come out and become a patient, that would be great. If they're local, if they fly in, I'll have a lot of patients who fly in. They can be month-to-month clients, but remotely as well. So yes, there's different avenues.
And the websites again for them to contact
for the patients, drkousouli.com. To remember the name, is basically Bruce Lee eating couscous, KOUSOULI.com, drkousouli.com, and then BAmaster.com, BAmaster. Okay. We want to be like Christ-like, like the only master that really existed, who we as healers only look to guide people, but the real healing comes from God. I want to make that distinction. All glory to God. Always. We do not take I do not take credit for any healings that happen between person and God. God made them, God heals them. I just basically guide them if I can.
Amen.
A comment before, I was remember when you were talking about the spirituality. You said you don't go to any spirits you go straight to God. That is exactly correct. If God sends the guide, great, but always go to God. If it's your dead aunt Martha or whatever, you don't know if you can trust that spirit. But even biblically, it says test the spirit. It says it in the Bible. Test the spirit whenever you're being contacted from anything from the other side, and ask the question, who is God? And if they don't say Jesus Christ, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, you know you're dealing with a very bad entity. I mean, you not need to test the spirit always and be in prayer before you contact the other side. That's very important.
Powerful. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Because they want to talk to you. Everybody on the other side wants to talk to you. People have no idea how much they want to talk to you, because you are part of that. When you're sleeping, you are over there with them partying. You're there. You're on. I mean, not partying, but you know what I mean. You're on that side.
Yeah, for sure.
When you're meditating, you're there with them. So it's not like people are always surprised. I was surprised when I first made contact in a way that I was like, oh my God, I'm really getting information. I'm getting, through prayer, meditation, visions, etc. But they're actually wanting to connect with you. And so do negative energies too. So you have to be very, very selective and careful, and be very much in connection with God at the moment you do.
Absolutely.
Or else you could be really messing up your life.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And it's like, when you think of all those entities around, it's like, look at I always say, look at how alcohol is referred to, spirits, right?
Yes.
And
yes, exactly.
How it opens you up to the lower vibration of things that are around us, right? And how when you do things of God, it solidifies you in the light of spirits, not the darkness of spirits. Right. I mean,
very true.
I never understood that. Even in my darkest days of partying, I never enjoyed a bar scene, because it's just if you're gonna go out drinking, take me to a club where at least there's something to do that's fun. But to just sit in a pub and drink spirits and just sit there in this dark, dingy thing throwing darts, it's it really feels like the devil's playground when you think of the energy of that.
Very, very true. I felt the same way in clubs. I never connected with, I was like, this is not the right place. Although, you can walk into that bar, Frank, and if you're the light, that whole darkness will hide. You won't have a problem. It's not, I don't like being kept from anything I want to go. If I want to walk into a room, I walk in the room with God, and that whole place gets transformed. And that's what we're doing when we're doing and speaking the truth. And that's what this show and other shows like it are looking to do.
Yep, absolutely.
Can you touch, I want to learn a little bit more. I was watching your videos and what you were saying about interdimensional healing and how that's kind of the wave of the future. And we know that light therapy and sound therapy and, all that frequency, we really need to elevate to get, to heal. And also our traumas, that's where we start, and our conscious, and then you tackle the subconscious. Would that be part of interdimensional healing as well?
Right. In the office, I work with people's neural emotive reprogramming. So when they're with me, we really talk about the timeline therapy, moving through their life and seeing what was causing the trauma. And when we're working, we always work with God. We always work with the connection to, if they don't have an idea of God, it doesn't matter. God's always there, So we talk in terms of how they understand their breath and their blood flow. I mean, if they understand that they're breathing and they're alive, we can work with them in that way. So their belief system is huge in the idea and the thought process of how you work with a patient. How I work with you, Kelddy, would be different than I would work with Frank or Bob or Teresa, et cetera, et cetera. So it just depends a lot on how you can connect to that person's divine nature and who they are from what their maker made them. Interdimensionally is that. When you're praying, it's interdimensional. When you're meditating, you're interdimensional. When you're having an ESP, it's interdimensional. A psychic phenomenon, interdimensional. Clairvoyance, interdimensional. It's all of that. It's what it is. Now, when we're talking about here and what's the hidden healing that they have and all the cures, I guess you can say, or whatever they want to call it, and rapid transformation of healing, those hidden things that they have as far as technology, that is only working on the level of the body, right? It's all about the body healing. Or sometimes they put these headsets, you see them all over the place. These headsets now, they can program your head. If you have depression, you put this headset on and it gives you different brain waves, right? You've seen them now. They're all over Instagram and all that stuff. Hocus pocus. Hocus pocus, fads, ways to take people's money when they can just sit there and learn how to talk to God. And God can be their interdimensional connection to their healing. And many times people get a problem, like myself. I have heart issue, right? I have to have that heart. Sorry. If I didn't have that heart issue, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. So I had to have the heart problem. Sometimes people have to have the cancer. Sometimes they have to have the gallstones. Why? Because it makes them look at their body and their healing. It makes them learn. God makes these things. Oh, why does God give a child cancer and takes them from the parents? Well, don't be an egotistical bastard and ask yourself what happened with the whole metamorphosis of the parents, of the grandparents, of the family structure, of the hospital nurse. What happened? What did God create from that negative experience that you as an egotistical person is saying, now this is bad, God is bad. And what was transformed? One soul came in to change 30 souls because all of them didn't have purpose in their life. And now they look at life differently. Or they're negative and they're going to have their epiphany later. God works in mysterious ways. We don't know immediately what happens. Later, you find out, right? Again, evil is fast to show off and prove itself. God takes his time. He wants your belief. He wants your patience. He wants your love because that's all his, but he doesn't make you love him. That's what the beauty thing is. God is so good, man. A small story, real quick. Just 2 weeks ago, I lost a USB port that I was going to bring to the office for my patients in the waiting room so that they can see the different slides. Right? I worked really hard on it. I lost it. I was really in a panic. I was in a stressed day. It was a stressed day. I took it from the computer, put it in my pocket right here, along with another USB that I had for another computer, 2 of them, put them right there. Came to the office, go into my pocket, only one USB. Where'd the other USB go? I told my wife, look for this USB. If you find this USB, I made her go crazy just talking about this USB for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, I didn't know where this USB. There's no other place it could have been, Frank and Kelddy. I basically put it here. I remember I came straight to the office. I took them out. Only one was there. Well, you know which one? The one that was in the therapy room. The one for the waiting room, couldn't have. And it was the same slides. I wanted it for the one and for the other. 2 weeks later, I'm brushing my teeth. I nick my gum. I'm like, oh, I got to find that gel that can numb it and help it, right? Now, the earlier than the day, I basically did a prayer. I said, God, I know it's not lost. I know it's just missing. And I know I misplaced it. And I know you can do anything. Put it in my hands. I said that as a prayer driving to work one of the days. So I'm sitting there, I'm looking underneath my sink. 2 pouches I have underneath the sink where the drain thing is. I open up the first one looking for the gel. Can't find the gel. Put it away. Look underneath the next one. Open up the others. Both zippered bags with little creams and stuff like that. Open up the bottom one. Look through it frantically. I can't find the gel. Can't find the gel. I look at the bottom. I see a black and red plastic piece. And I'm looking at it. I was like, are you kidding me? What? It's a USB. Now, is it the same USB with the content that I'm looking for? Now, that's what I was thinking. I doubted that it was it. I took it to a computer immediately. It was exactly the USB I had misplaced. But I didn't misplace it. God took it and put it in there. I have 100% trust and faith that it was not anything other than divine purpose for me to re-find that USB in the most weirdest, most awkward place that I never would have put it. I came straight from the computer at home, straight to work. I remember that. And I found it underneath the sink, and I knew he can do anything. So he put it right in front of my face to see it again and to find it. And now that USB is happily in my waiting room with the slides showing the patients what they need to see.
Yeah.
And why? Why did I lose it? Why did I misplace it? I didn't. He took it and he put it where he went to show me something. And that's how God works. God works even to the people who believe. He continuously shows his goodness. He continuously shows what he can do. It would have never been underneath the sink upstairs in the master bedroom in the second patch. And not only that, for my patients, this has happened many times as well. Lost items. When I told them and I mentored them through them, I said, this is how you're going to find it. You're going to recreate. It's actually coming back to you, and God's going to help you. One time we were working with a patient, and I was talking to her how to use one of the psychic tools called the rosebud. After we were finished, we looked down on the ground, and I'm telling you, no lie, there was a rosebud, a leaf of a rosebud, a pink one. That's exactly what we were talking about. On her shoe, it had fallen off. Now, what had to happen for a rosebud or a leaf from a rose to be on that ground? You have to kind of like put your mind in a logical thinking. What had to happen for that to happen at that moment where we find it on the ground after we finish healing her and she's crying and she's doing the interdimensional healing and there's a rosebud on the ground? How did that manifest? Nobody brought roses into the office.
Yeah.
Things like this are amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And interdimensional healing is that, because we have God on our side and armies of his angels. Armies. For if we are with God and God is with us, who can be against us? Why don't people get this? Why do they pray to lesser beings and entities? For egotistical, materialistic, and hard negative things in life when they need to be lighter, childlike, loving, and connect to God. You can't connect to God. God's not going to talk to you if you don't do those things, because God isn't hard, negative, and dark.
Right.
God is love and light. And that's why people have that hard time. Oh, God doesn't listen to me. He doesn't. Oh, he's always listening. So you can't connect. You got too much wax in between your head. That's true.
Yeah, and people tend to forget too, like when they think of angels and God and all that, they just think good, and just as much as there's good, there's dark too, right? And I mean,
yeah.
Satan was an angel, right? I mean, I saw a quote from this week from that's a whole nother topic, but the whole stage thing with Will Smith and Chris Rock. Denzel Washington's quote, I don't know if you guys saw it, what he apparently told Will Smith, but he said, I'm paraphrasing it, but it's kind of what he said. Be careful, because at your highest moment, that's when the devil tries to come in and get you. And like, look at it, like this whole week, did anybody talk about Will Smith winning his first Oscar or Will Smith doing some dumb shit? Like, I mean, what is everyone talking about? You know? So it's like, and again, that's a whole nother topic. I don't even believe it was real, but the statement from Denzel really like just gave me chills, because I just, you know, I noticed that in my life. Whenever I try to take a big leap forward, something happens to where, you know, again, things happen and unfold smoothly sometimes, but a lot of the times, like when you're trying to do what you do on a daily basis, Kousouli or Kelddy, what you try to do, the things you're trying to educate people about, myself, like we're trying to be, you know, bright lights in a world right now that, you know, I like to say there's yin and yang, but right now it's like the dark is definitely being permeated more through our society and through our culture and through the minds of people, and that's why people like that step out and try to be a servant to God, you know, may not necessarily have things go as smoothly. I heard when I work out, I listen to a lot of those compilations on YouTube. I just rip them, and this one minister said, like, when you're living a life of the light, it's foolish to think that bad things can't happen. Like the word fear is mentioned in the Bible about, I think they said about over 365 times, like one for every day, basically. So I mean, the reality is like the greater you try to do things, the higher the risk of you being tested is going to become. And like, I think, again, back to that Denzel quote, I just think it's such a profound quote because there's so much truth to it. And we can't lose sight of that like, and that was the problem I had with the metaphysical teachings and all that. It's all about life is good. I can manifest everything. Everything is working together for my good, which I get, but I
Lies.
had
Lies.
yeah. I mean,
They can't see through real eyes.
we're living we're living through spiritual warfare right now, and if you can't recognize that was the thing for me. Like once the whole plan, what started about 2 years ago, I really started hitting me like this is going on. I can't be here like da, 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 da. Like I can hold that within me, but I have to address this here while holding that in me and still stand strong. But I have to recognize that like there's some dark shit happening right now, and like I need my like Archangel Michael sword, and it's battle time, which I'm glad we segued into this because we got to wrap up soon, and I couldn't have you on here and not go down the rabbit hole because you and I have had some great conversations over the years,
The
so
rabbits know us really well. The rabbits,
yeah,
they know us.
we've had tea with them quite a few times. So for like everyone listening that's not familiar with your mindset, which I am, and I admire it so much, which is why I wanted to talk to you. Without getting, again, let's be careful with how we say things, but over the last 2 years, what's your takeaway? What do you think happened, and what do you think is happening, and what do you think is they're trying to make happen? Is what I would like to hear your point of view on.
Okay. I think what's going on right now in the world is nothing new. It's happened in previous centuries. It happens cyclically. You have individuals who believe that they are untouchable. They have amassed all the world's wealth, all the status, and all the perceived power. There is interdimensional control on these people with negative entities that they basically do sacrifices and connection. They give over themselves, different seances, etc., and they work in tandem with the negativity. These individuals have grown in power, have grown in confidence, have also grown in grotesque acts. And the more of that, the more the negativity comes forward. In the highest ranks of government, in the highest ranks of society, unbeknownst to everyone else. However, they are still not as powerful as the greater good. And the thing is, through the art of Hollywood, and Hollywood, basically, and the whole, to the ones that know and have done their research, they understand what it's all about. Society has been taken over by individuals who want greed, they want power, they want to tell other people what to do. And what is it that the archangel that was cast out from heaven was? What was he all about? Exactly the very things that the humans that are actually connected to that power and that entity are doing to other people. That's exactly what it is. So what I believe is going on is a cyclical thing that happens in the world on a consistent basis. Empires have risen and fallen because of this negativity, but they've also come back because of goodness. So once you see the very big dark side of yourself and what you've done, you come back to remorse, regret, and also repentance. So it's a yo-yo that is going on in history, and hopefully the people who know the truth are leading more of the light. And that's what we have to do. We have to do as much education in the proper ways, not where you're like, I'm going to put on a certain amount, a hat, and wave flags, or where I'm going to build back better, or this or that. Both sides are puppeteered by the same energy, the unseen energy of the negative hand. Both of them. Extremes are never good. You must be looking on both sides of the fence and use a critical mind and make the best decision for yourself and your family. And everyone must be united and in the understanding that God created all things. And in the end, God says what happens. not the negative lower energy. Only God can say what's going to happen. He wants to make it all start from the beginning. Okay, great. Take me up, God. I'll be with you. I'll chill with you. You want to recreate it all in you? Okay, turn me into a butterfly, whatever you want to do. What am I going to say? No, I'm going to do what God says. So we can't allow ourselves to become negative, sad, grieved by what's going on. We must keep the light and the torch going.
Right.
See, Satan is and the negativity of that power is all about the chaos and all about making people feel like their life is over. Who's all these videos that are going around of these certain people in certain societies, and it's like, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and you'll be happy with nothing. There's one going out like that. Really? What if all of us get together and say no? I mean, that's all they gotta say. Just no.
That's
Just
the
like
crazy part. That's all that's needed, right? Is just people.
all that's needed.
But that's why the I call it the television programming perpetuates the divisiveness constantly, and that's what I wish people would realize. The people that pay $50 million to have a 30-second spot on the TV, it's all and funding that, it's all a revolving door, from the drug cartel companies to political affiliations to the fast food companies. It's all there, and it all interlinks. It's all pieces of a puzzle to interlink, to have us divided, to have us controlled, to have us asleep, to have us living in fear, to have us living in doubt, lack, and all that. It's all part of the plan. That's all, because again, as we know, right, if you have all those elements, you can pretty much tell anyone to do what you want them to do, and they will do it. Hence, look at what we've seen the last 2 years. That's the perfect case study of that, right?
Yeah. Paul, Peter, all the disciples of Christ, did they have an easy life? No, they didn't have an easy life. They were tormented, jailed, killed. But what is going on with that scenario? Can the evil one take everything from you? No, it can't. It can hurt you, right? But you learn from that scenario. And if somebody wants to torture you, wants to hurt you, wants to do negative, deface you in the public, take your money, everything. If you have that connection to God, He will feed you. He will continue to keep you alive. He will use you as a vessel for whatever it is that He wants to do. When you have no care, I mean, Jesus sent out the disciples with nothing. Don't even take a pouch of money, and everything will be fine. They went, they preached, and people took them in. People gave them food, gave them water, just as Jesus told them. So if we can do that as well with no fear, we're very powerful individuals. People don't know who they are. And that's the biggest thing when they come in the office. I was like, you have no idea who you are. You have no idea. By the time they're finished a program, it's a different story. But, the work that needs to be done is a deep programming. So I'm a very big believer in programming people correctly, using hypnosis, homeopathy, chiropractic, and just talking to them like a normal human being, not like a robot.
Powerful. Wow. I think we covered it all. What do you think, Kelddy? Do you have anything else you want to ask him?
No, I'll probably be visiting your clinic in Tennessee at some point in the future, though. I would love to. Yeah. Definitely.
Doors are open.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I have one last question I want to ask you before we wrap this, and that's, how do you want to be remembered? If God forbid today was your last day here, what's the legacy you want to leave behind? What do you want people to say about Dr. Theo Kousouli? What comes to mind?
He came to the world. He figured out how it worked. He glorified God, and God glorified him.
Amen.
That's it. Amen.
I love it. Dr. Kousouli, where can everyone find you? Can you tell them again?
drkousouli.com, beamaster.com. One's for patients, the other one's for mentoring. Both of them have great information. Social media and all that other jazz, Dr. Kousouli, at Dr. Kousouli, DrKousouli.
Perfect. And again, guys, I will post.
Wait, I want to touch on something. You also have 10 books, correct? About 8 or 10 books?
I'm writing my 10th one. Through my journey of learning how everything works in life and how to work with the other side, every book is basically an ascension for both patients and was for myself. So everything that I teach, everything that I do is in the books. And obviously I have more content now than I did when I wrote the books because it's always changing. But yes, I'm on my 10th book right now.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
Sorry, Frank.
Well, Dr. Kousouli, thank you for your time. And more importantly, thank you for coming to this planet and being such a bright light and committing your life and just walking the path of righteousness, man. I'm honored to call you a friend. I can just tell you that. Thank you.
Honor's all mine. Thank you so much, Frank and Kelddy, for your time, for the love that you got for other people, and also for taking a stand in the right side of history. God bless you both.
God bless you all, man. Thanks again for your time.